Facing your fear was the first step I did to to go on the inner work journey. I had hit rock bottom, and I asked myself why this is happening to me, why me, and I did not blame it on anybody else. I decided that it is my work to do, and I want to know why it happens to me. Whatever it is that you might going through, you need to ask yourself why this is happening to me, and not in a sense of blaming anybody else. And that's when I sat down and write down all my fears on a paper. You are not born with fears, and it was either dumped on you consciously or unconsciously, or you observed it and then assumed it that it is yours. For example, that I am afraid that my husband's priority is gonna be his friends or his family. So basically, my fear is that I'm not going to be my first priority for my husband. When I sat down, it and observed it, I realized that I observed it from my father. That's just an example. There are million ways to have fear and millions of fears in everybody. Is that either you observe it, or either somebody, your parents, your family, your siblings or friends have said something that could turn into a fear, or you observed it, something happening in your surrounding, in your childhood, and you received it as a fear, assumed it as a fear. I'm not saying that you need to blame yourself because you have fear. You assumed it. No, you were a child and you didn't know better. Once fear is assumed, it's strengthened time after time if you don't face it. Fears are also sneaky. Core fears often hide behind small fears. For example, I was afraid of having money. But when I sat down to dissect it, I realized that the main fear is that I would be betrayed for money. And that's why I was having fear. I had a fear of having money, and that's why I never got to have money. It often happens if you have a fear like that, like with money. Once you have a fear of money, you're not gonna get it. Our fear are always in between the happiness. It's imagine like there was an earthquake and you are buried under the debris of building. Okay, the debris of the building is fears, and you are stuck in underneath it. There is nothing coming, disguised in a help, but it can't get to you if there is a debris upon you. What you need to do is take out the debris you are underneath, so the help can come into your life. You want love in your life, but if you have fear around love, it's gonna stop you from living the life that you want with your love. So that's why it is very important to face your fears first of all. What I did back then in 2019, and I had been doing it till like 2023, and I still do it for the fears that arise. It's a never ending job that you need to do. If you want to be successful, you need to get rid of your fears. That is a basic things. So what you're gonna do is take a piece of paper, and it needs to be on paper, and then write down your fears in a list. Every fear, 1 2 3, write it down till all. And it's gonna be messy. You're gonna be crying mess. Be prepared for that. Then take the first fear, put that list aside, and take the first fear that you wrote, because it's on the surface and you are most scared of it. That's why it's a first number in your consciousness or subconsciousness. Take the first fear, write it down, like a heading. And then what you're gonna do is, when you think about this fear, a memory will arise, and that memory is so connected with that fear. Maybe that fear is there because of that memory. You're gonna sit through the most uncomfortable situation just to get the best for yourself. And that's what I used to tell myself. I'm gonna sit through most uncomfortable situation because I deserve the best and I'm gonna get it for myself. You're gonna feel that memory bit by bit, everything that happened. Who is there? What's happening? How do you feel? Write it down, everything. Every single thing, write it down. And when you finished it, take that paper and burn it down. When you write down on your paper, you are putting your thoughts, your feelings in that paper. So it's a separate thing from you. Okay, you put it down outside of. When you write it down, it also acts as an expression. You weren't able to express that situation to anybody. That's why you feel so alone and so afraid of it. You write it down, you have expressed it, and when you burn it, you find a closure that a human psychology, human nature need to finish something. And you can do it as many times as you can or need to, because often fears come again and again and again and again. Sometimes some fears usually go away from one in a work session that I always used to call it in a work session. So sometimes if it doesn't go away, you can do it again. What I used to do is I sat down and do it in one time, or whenever got triggered, whenever somebody's words or acting or tone triggered me, I used to sit down and do this in a work. So that thing that happened doesn't have that much power on me, need to bother me that much. So when you do this, you take power into yourself over that situation. That fear doesn't hold that power over you. You take back your power. And it is essentially the first step to actually do that inner work and inner discovery that I did. Now I know who I am because I know my fears. I know what my fears were and I faced them. I did the shadow work that needed to get rid of those fears. And when you do this, you are in the first step of mastering yourself. Not the big, all those master yourself type of things, but it is a start for your dreams of who you want to be.